Welcome to all of the new information that has been released via the first 2019 Gran Turismo FIA World Championship event in Paris related to GT Sports. To begin with, all of this information stems from one thread on GT Planet, so I'll link that thread in general, and then eventually, if you want to look, you can find all this on that thread. And a lot of this spun off into their own threads as well. Just it's easier to link the main thread the information's coming from, just for organizational purposes. You can find everything in one. And ultimately, most likely by the time this video will be updated, there'll be some type of information y'all would want to see beyond what I'm showing here as well. This information is accurate as of about 4:30 p.m. Eastern on March 15th. Side note, if you're going by Eastern time or to Pacific time, the ones I know in my head, Pacific is 3 hours earlier, and then to Eastern, which is all the America's time, which would be, well, now 4:15 p.m. Eastern, so it would be 1:15 in Pacific time. The actual races for this championship are tomorrow, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern, and then Sunday from 9 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. So aka that be starting at 10 a.m. Pacific and then 6 a.m. Pacific. So plan accordingly to that, and the only ones I can actually calculate are America's region, so do your own math to find it, like for like Paris and stuff where the event is actually at. So anyway, here is the actual information that I just put the side notes of the events that we actually get the information from. The first one, well, just the title sounds perfectly fine, doesn't it? Toyota's new Supra gets its own Gran Turismo Sport Online Championship. Cool, new event with the hot car of the time, and yeah, can't really complain about that one, folks. Let's read the details. As revealed earlier today, Toyota is now the official partner of the GT Sport Certified Online Championships. Porsche was also the official partner of Need for Speed for 15 years, which also directly affected Gran Turismo, wink wink. Already, this partnership is the foundation of something special. You think they're paying some money there? Sounds, yeah, paying some money. With a dedicated online event specifically for Toyota's new Supra. It's called the GR Supra GT Cup, and Toyota Gazoo Racing refers to it as the first ever Global One-Make Race Championship. Really? Yes, I have the new YouTube channel called Rantatin. I would do a full, uncensored rant about this whole general thing on there. And I will link the channel in the description. So if you want to hear my full, uninterrupted by the other stuff being announced too, uncensored opinion on this, well, I have the channel linked in the description. This video will be up first, and then I'll upload the other video, Rantatin, after this one. But just general, to put more context into this and not a full-on rant, to keep it fairly positive on this channel. One make. And it's supposedly the first ever one make global championships. Yeah, it might be, because Nissan did global championships 10 plus years ago and onward to like 2015 or 16 or whatever. That had multiple cars in it. So this is really just Toyota being lazy and then still trying to brand themselves as the first ever. Yeah, they might be the first ever to do it just because they're the laziest ones to do the global championships, having them be a whopping one car involved. For Jiminy Cricket, we already have the Group 3 Supra. You could at least do 2. And then we have the FT1 thing that's essentially the Supra. That's 3. You could even really bring the old Supra in it. Everybody likes it. There's 2 versions of it. There's a 97 And then there's the 88, so that's 5 cars that are already in the game. No work needed to even implement them. Whatever. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to brand this as a new thing, and they're paying money to make it look pretty. It's probably a paid article. I'm not going into specifics of who wrote it and stuff in case it ain't, but yeah. Anyway, players will only drive the new Supra. And, or as added in the most recent update, it's the brand's first ever foray into the esports arena. Except for the last FIA Championships, in which Toyota and Lexus literally finished 1-2 in the points, which would be mentioned in the main rant video that will probably be just as long as this entire video, but with a rant about this particular thing. But yeah, this definitely deserves its own rant. I mean, yes, it's positive. We're getting a new event. That's the positive to it. But the new event is just so branded and so way hyped up more than it really is that it's just downright a slap in the face of what we used to have. I mean, I'm not a Nissan fan or anything, but I mean, Jiminy Cricket, from what it's looking like, the Nissan GT Academy was way better in many different ways. One of the chief ones being Nissan was featured in all games. Nissan is still featured in all games. Moving on. The tournament will take place online over 13 rounds from April to August 2019. So it sounds like there's no physically going anywhere. It's just in GG Sport itself. Cool. So that means with anyone age 6 and over eligible. So that means we aren't getting a tangible thing through this, so what the reward will really be, I guess, will be discussed later, but continuing on. These events act as a qualifying for a final live event held at the Tokyo Motor Show. Again, you'd think we get some type of prizes from this a la GT Academy again. At least in GT Academy, if you competed in events, you got those special cars tuned in the way that they made them for GT Academy, and you got extra money for the events and stuff like that, and you got a cool racing suit and stuff like that were just all in the game and you didn't tangibly have to go anywhere. And this also means that 6-year-olds could actually feasibly be going to that overseas event. I'm not getting into that, but anyway, that coincides with the final GT Sport World Tour event. I'll show a list of those events later, just I figured I'd show the new information about the cars first. So anyway, Toyota Gazoo Racing will announce specific dates, tracks, rules, and how to enter. You wouldn't think it'd be all that hard to figure out how to enter an event that's on GG for itself. But anyway, on a dedicated special website for the event early April. They have their own website that apparently is dedicated. Like, this isn't even going to be put on GT Planet, apparently, because they have it dedicated, which probably means it's going to be the whole copyright infringement thing, like the YouTube thing. If it's put on another site, it's going to be taken down, and that site's going to get in trouble. So you have to look at this dedicated site at Rantatin. Link in the description. Jiminy Cricket, and by golly, I ain't gonna be saying Jiminy Cricket too much on Rantatin. I'm gonna be saying some other words that are, well, completely different. But anyway, on to something completely different. Is it better? This is apparently official Twitter. Like, this is one of the ones that's considered credible. Yay, we get a Murcielago. If this is really true, and really supposed to be meant to be credible, why in the blue blazes is it edited so terribly? Now granted, I can't say that much about editing videos, because I just don't really have the software to edit videos well on a phone. Essentially, the max I can edit videos on a phone is trim them, combine videos, and then add like a text box. But on a laptop, I could easily edit a picture just as good as this, if not better. This is literally just taking a stock photo of a Lamborghini Murcielago. It's not even all that high quality of a photo. I can see the pixels in this even with such bad quality as my phone is. And putting it on top of this fairly well edited photo that's meant to be advertising. I mean, it's... You couldn't find a picture that at least has a road in it or something that you could just Photoshop the Murcielago on. If you're not going to actually try to edit it in there to make it look like a real picture, you could at least Photoshop it like on a road or something. I mean, apparently this is official, but this looks like one of the most unofficial things I've seen in a long time. Well, whatever, I ain't putting it in the title because I personally don't think it's going to come. But apparently people are saying this is legit, so Lamborghini Murcielago confirmed, I'd assume, to be shown at the Paris event, which, to be fair, previous Gran Turismo FIA Championship events have debuted cars in them, such as the Ferrari F50, but those weren't ugly edited onto anything either. It just showed a list of events with the cars people were driving slightly before the events happened. This hasn't showed a list of events yet for this particular Paris event. It shows the whole list of events throughout the year, which I'll go ahead and show now, but it doesn't show the specifics for the Paris event. But anyway, the events for the entire year. The first one is, well, the Paris event, the one happening now. It's, again, the times you can calculate using your own skill there. But, yeah, it's already done and said, and all the information's made for this one. But for the future ones, there's one in June. That is at Nürburgring. So, okay, this is the European event. One in August. Set in New York. So, okay, the Americas event. Slight side note with this one, again, I don't know 100% if I'm going to do a video on it or not, but technically speaking, I think there would be, if the absolute perfect scenario happened, I could just barely squeak into the very bottom of a regional event. And, well, New York is closer to Kentucky than Las Vegas is. Both are pretty far away, but also just in general, I'd rather go to New York City than the middle of a desert, so, yeah. It's rounded to 0% chance I would go to this event, but it ain't downright zero. Don't expect anything, but we'll see. But anyway, the next one is Red Bull Hangar, which events have already been held there. In general, people seem to like that venue, so whatever. And then Tokyo in Japan for the actual final event before the World Finals. So this also seems kind of weird, because if y'all don't already know, it's kind of looking like there's 4 venues for 3 regions. I don't particularly know why that is. I mean, I guess this one at Paris is just the first kind of warm-up World Championship like we had last year. The one that actually Doodle Monopoly and TRL Lightning won. TRL Doodle, TRL Lightning won. So this is just that again for this year. But I don't understand the order of these events. So whatever, I guess more information will come in the future, especially information for the very final event, but weird ordering that I'm not going to get that much into. But one final thing that I am going to get into, which all things considered I say is positive, is we're getting a new Red Bull. Red Bull is not an official manufacturer, they've just always worked with Gran Turismo, so it's just mutual benefit. Official there, Gran Turismo gets money, and then Red Bull gets advertising, which makes this. I put the pictures in the wrong order, but I'll get to the final thing later, because it's not official new information. In fact, it's old information, just saying the facts of the game so far. I'll go ahead and mention that, but it's not anything new, it's just facts of what's already happened. So anyway, this is the new Red Bull. We're going to outfit that, so the name of the car. Name of the car is down here. Yes? Yeah. Okay, so X 2014. 2014 was 5 years ago, but I mean, look, that looks slightly different. I mean, and this has the word competition in it, so technically speaking, this is a new car. Supposedly, the people who's driven it says it has more downforce and less power to make for more exciting and close racing. NASCAR. NASCAR. I personally don't want to talk about more downforce and less power to make closer racing on this channel. This paired with the NASCAR thing will be a rant on the other channel. Again, linked in the description. Just search Rantatin on YouTube. I searched it with the apostrophe at the end, and it just comes up the channel because it has apostrophe at the end. But I'd say either or. It's Rantatin, probably gets it. But anyway, yeah. Less power, more downforce, folks. This makes for a completely new car, except it's not actually new. It's just a rehash of their old thing. Yes, Gran Turismo getting money from Red Bull, but I mean, Jiminy Cricket, do they really have to half-donkey it? I'm going to say a different word on the other channel. I don't see why they'd have to half-donkey it. That's all the new information. Here's this information about GT Sport that was also made at the event. Granted, it doesn't actually say sales of the game. Like the most important stat, because that coincides with how much money the game makes directly. Granted, it's obvious GT Sport's making a whole heck of a heap of money from sponsorship stuff. Toyota, Red Bull, Tag Heuer, all them. But still, you'd think the bulk of the money from the video game would be the video game itself in most circumstances. Obviously, something like Fortnite's an exception, but GT Sport was the original, you pay to get the game to begin with, so in theory that's still truism, but it still doesn't say the sales of the game. What it does say is total users 7 million. I think I've sort of mentioned this in a pretty recent video, is Drive Club total users is about 10.2 or something, and including bikes, which they're kind of counting as different people. Probably is a very few, like maybe 100,000 different people, but ultimately the bulk of them are the same people. So let's just say maybe 10.5 million users for Drive Club. Still ahead of GT Sport, and probably always will be. Drive Club failed, is saying their company doesn't exist anymore. Gran Turismo has less. Moving on. Total hours played 179 million. That's not a bad number, really. That means on average people played over 20 hours of the game. That's pretty good. People have been pretty invested. And then miles, or distance travel, or actually kilometers. 12.7 billion, I'm not even going to attempt to calculate that to miles. It's less miles than kilometers, I know that. But anyway, total races, 283 million. I mean, some people are actually doing quite long races. Unless they're counting hours played, is this also in the menu? It seems kind of hard to calculate. I don't know, maybe they can, but it seems like the easier time to calculate would be in a race. Because those have timers, but I'm not so sure in a menu really has a timer. But anyway, that's quite a long race. 179 million, 200 something races. That means the races are about 30 minutes on average. I mean, maybe they're calculating in the menu, but that, I don't know. That's kind of odd. But anyway, total online races in the online-oriented game is slightly over 5% of the total in this online-oriented game. This is just my prediction, folks, but if GT really and truly wants to succeed and not just have to take money from sponsors who probably ain't going to be there forever if the game in general ain't succeeding. Remember, Drive Club failed with 30% more total players. They're going to have to make it Gran Turismo 7, aka have a good amount of offline stuff and variety and like cars and stuff. Maybe they call it GT8, but whatever. This is a GT number game. Because this online-oriented game has less than 10% of the races ran online. That's not good in the slightest. I mean, to put it in perspective, again, 7 million players, 16 million races online. The players in general have played over 20 hours, but yet have done barely over 2 online races. And this is all of online considered, from what it sounds like. This ain't just sport mode. This is online lobbies. And then it might even count... Well, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure if it would count online races circa the ones with leaderboards that are races, aka like the missing challenges and stuff that are full on races but yet have leaderboards, because those are kind of sort of online. I don't know if those count or not, but still, nonetheless, this number's way too small in relation to this number for an online oriented Gran Turismo game to be viable. Drive Club failed with more. Moving on to the final stats. Number of photos taken, 33 million. Fine. Is it really fine? Whatever. Car liveries created, 51 million. That's kind of a cool stat, actually. People are liking the livery editor. I never really would have thought people would be making more liveries than taking photos just because of how quick it is to take a photo. And Gran Turismo, since at least GT4, the first one I remember, has always had a really good photo editor. Photo maker, whatever. But this is only the first time they have a livery editor. So people are really liking the livery editor. Which, again, is something I always have, and from what I can tell, always will give props to, despite all the negatives that have been in this video. Is GT Sport has individual good qualities. It has the best livery editor I've ever used. It has the best graphics I've ever played. It has the biggest and best overall nicest fan base I've ever raced with. But maybe the fan base is good in general just because it's smaller than we're really expecting it to be. 7 million players, 16 million online races, but yet have raced for over 20 hours. The average online race, being something like a sport mode race, takes 15 or so minutes. Supposedly with this, they've done 2 races. Let's say they even qualify and all that stuff for it, and let's even give it the biggest race of maybe 45 minutes. In total, that's maybe 2.5 hours of time out of the 20 total hours. In the best case scenario, that's barely even over 10% of the total time played of the game. Played online. In an online-oriented video game. I mean, at least we get a rehash of an old car. A car that physically doesn't even look like it's coming, but apparently this is legit. And an event for a single car that we already have, even though we kind of already have 5 versions of that car that could be used. Oh, and this is the only game in which any of those versions can be used. Yeehaw. I'll say yeehaw on this channel, and then I'll rant on Rantatin, which is linked in the description. Yeehaw.